As a lifelong Doom fan, I am a shoo-in to love any iteration of demon-slaying goodness. For a series that has stood the test of time and multiple reinventions, Doom the Dark Ages is yet another inflection point of ripping and tearing in id Software's pantheon. After Doom 2016's successful revival of the franchise, we've seen the iconic Doom Marine, the Doom Slayer, push forward and fight. In Doom Eternal, that combat philosophy was upped a bit and incorporated more verticality, more speed, and more combinations of demon killing than we'd ever seen before thanks to an enhanced glory kill system, weapon assassinations, and massive versions of the trusty BFG. With the Dark Ages, we're treated to a narrative prequel that offers a different combat philosophy by demanding that we stand and fight, and parry, and fight some more. Standing and fighting, along with parrying, is the combat philosophy of Doom the Dark Ages, but I rarely found myself standing still. The Dark Ages offers a new weapon arsenal for our Slayer to employ, and I did not realize just how proficient I had become with this new arsenal and the style of these new weapons until I revisited previous levels a second or third time. It was there that I realized I had become an efficient killing machine as I slaughtered once difficult hordes of demons with ruthless conviction. It was awesome, but the initial and lengthy learning curve for me was surprising. Again, I am quite the Doom veteran across all official releases, but parts of Doom the Dark Ages did stump me a bit, particularly as there is a lengthy tutorial section in the beginning that may be off-putting for some. There's also a good amount of parrying, of which I have mixed feelings in a Doom game, but ultimately I landed on enjoying. The weapons you employ this time out are a largely standard Doom affair, but with a Dark Ages twist. Instead of a plasma rifle, you'll get the accelerator. Instead of a chain gun, you have the shredder or the Ravager to choose from. Each of these have variants that can be modified or upgraded for peak demon slaying efficiency. I'll admit to being initially a bit underwhelmed by my arsenal at first, but quickly found that the error was mine as I learned to upgrade each of these. As I leveled each of these weapons up, I began to see the brilliance that they offered, and my own combat style emerged uniquely. I found myself partial to certain weapons like my trusty shotgun, which makes its return, but I only truly enjoyed it once I added incendiary rounds so that it dropped ammo pickups. Among your new weapons is my personal favorite, the Chainshot. This is essentially a giant wrecking ball that leaps forward from your gun and causes all types of chaotic damage. It's kinetic but charged with cosmic energy and absolutely demolishes whatever it hits. It's a joy and a bit of fresh air to the Doomslayer's weapons. The Ravager is another impressive addition. A cursed skull crushed into shrapnel for ammo and slaughter? It's insane, but it's fun. Other perks for various weapons will see electric shock status paralyze an enemy before it leaps over to adjacent demons that in turn buys time for the Slayer to assess and attack. Heavenly Blades will leap forward from my shield or stagger enemies, and then of course there's my personal favorite, the shoulder-mounted turret, making a welcome return from previous outings. It dispenses fiery goodness with each perfect parry I achieve. In many respects, Dark Ages more closely mirrors 2016's combat and traversal, more so than, say, Doom Eternal. But this is only a comparison. The Dark Ages has its own flow state that exists separately from other Doom experiences, largely due to the parrying and timing of projectiles. And that's the biggest change to this formula overall, the Chainsaw Shield. It is this addition to the Doomslayer's arsenal that allows the Dark Ages combat to truly shine on its own, and indeed set itself apart from others in the series. The shield not only defends you from incoming attacks by blocking, but it also allows you to parry certain attacks back into the battlefield, often with modifiers that cause enemies to explode, drop ammo, offer health, or extend different damage types to nearby foes. It's a useful tool in traversing the battlefield as a shield dash can be used to stun enemies or demolish others with conviction. I loved it. It even allows you to dash grapple into high places, which is useful for puzzle solving and reaching cleverly hidden secrets. Something that stuck out in this combat loop, I don't see nearly as many glory kill types as I had noticed previously in Doom Eternal or Doom 2016, and that surprised me. I expected that number to go up, not down, or at least seemingly so. The ones that were present wore thin in my 20 hours or so playing. We saw more violent takedowns in previous titles, and some glory kills here are just basic and downright boring by comparison. Quick mention of that. I spent 20 or so hours in the campaign, searching for every collectible and secret, and I didn't find them all, but I did spend a good amount of time searching, and I had fun doing so, but it did inflate my time spent in-game. Keep that in mind. You're more likely to have a 10 to 15 hour experience if you're more of a mainline player. Another pillar aspect of Doom the Dark Ages is its narrative, and it takes massive leaps forward in filling the backstory of our Doomslayer's war with Hell. The production value here is leaps and bounds ahead of previous entries, with the possible exception of Doom Eternal's DLC, which outlined the War of Heaven and Hell in more detail. Here, though, the story takes center stage. We find our Doomslayer a slave to the Makers, metaphorically God in heaven, and employed as a weapon against the demon hordes of Hell. He is sent where he's needed with no say in the matter. He is a weapon to be wielded, a sword to be unsheathed, a predator sent on the hunt. The Sentinels, or humans in the story, are the beneficiaries of this, and they both appreciate and fear the Slayer. As you can suspect, though, the Doomslayer does not enjoy being a tool of others, and as a result, we get some fascinating deep dives into the lore of Doom's humanity. Interestingly, and divisively, most likely anyhow, the Dark Ages takes us to a new realm for the first time in franchise history, the Cosmic Realm. While I am truly fascinated by the premise here, and I'm excited to see this explored in future iterations, this franchise has butchered demons for over 20 years, and I found this foray into Lovecraftian combat to be a bit wanting. The Cosmic Realm is puzzle heavy, and the enemies are far too similar to stand next to our normal demon bestiary. That's a shame too, because I think id is onto something with this realm, as a tangential space to explore alongside the Heaven Hell aesthetic, but not as a mainstay. In practice, I found myself underwhelmed with the Cosmic Realm. I was certainly impressed at first with the visual of this world. Massive tentacle entities floating in the background set a stage for an intimidating sense of dread, but I was quickly deflated when the shooting started. I was expecting a new bestiary, new enemies with tentacles and fangs to be floating about with new movement patterns, to be horrifyingly dangerous. It wasn't. It was our standard demon with cosmic augments. And that's a bummer too, because I would love to see id take a second stab at this, and I'll note that it's got to be more different than it currently is. With mention of that same bestiary, it's time to note that from the outset of the game, we see our standard demon affair but with a Dark Ages twist. Hell Knights, Spider Demons, Imps, and Cacodemon equivalents all make their way into combat. It's fun to see them, particularly as a lifelong Doom fan. Making comparisons to each version of the Mancubus across all games, it's fun, and I enjoyed fighting all of them. The story takes some twists and turns, but I found myself loving it most when I was fighting the Hordes of Hell, not the cosmically tweaked versions of them. I'll note this though. You look at Hell in 2016 versus Doom Eternal versus now, and they have done a great job at growing and improving the aesthetics. If they could do this same thing with the Cosmic Realm, you've got something special. The combat loop is incredible. All levels provide an open zone-like approach with the design of different pathways leading to central arenas for you to do battle in, and it's wild to see what they've come up with. Despite the stand, parry, and attack mentality, I found myself bolting across the battlefield to stay alive as my health was always under threat. Thankfully, the combat is as smooth as it's ever been, and there's no way not to have fun with it. The shooting is the best it's ever been. The movement here has heft for sure, but anyone that had qualms about Doom the Dark Ages being slow or slower, too slow in fact, should rest easy knowing that chaotic battles are the norm here. Doom the Dark Ages continues its trend of improving the visuals from game to game, and it's already stunning to say the least. The bar has yet again been raised far beyond that of Eternal, as the vast hellscapes demand attention because the more you look, the more you'll see, the more detail you'll find. Doom is not a game that wants you to stop and smell the roses, but I encourage you to do so at least once or twice, because once you do, you'll encounter a scale of visual design that I was routinely impressed by. Demons slain prostrate on the ground, massive hulking titans crucified and clinging to life, sometimes in the background, sometimes up close and disturbingly personal. Without a doubt, id have successfully improved on their visuals in each modern iteration of Doom. Doom the Dark Ages is the best the series has ever looked, it's the best the series has ever played, and I sometimes couldn't help but shake my head at just how cool it was. The sound design. It sounds fantastic. Each of these weapons has their own unique sounds, as do their accompanying status effects. It's wild to me to see this formula evolve while still maintaining its core tenets of rip and tear. The soundtrack mixes a calm ambiance of something, say, reminiscent of Doom 64 with the intense metal rock you've come to expect from 2016 and Eternal. It ebbs and flows with your combat, almost as though it's feeding off your destruction. The Dark Ages looks and sounds like a Doom game, even if it shouldn't. Breaking up these 22 levels of demon slaying are dragon flying and mech piloting. I expect this to be divisive for many, but truly, I loved both. It was awesome to take control of the massive Atlans out into the battlefield to combat the largest monstrosities the devil had to offer. It was slower than normal, but the scale of these fights was just wild, and I found them to be a great palate cleanser to the more standard combat arenas. Also breaking up the monotony our Doomslayer may be feeling are the dragon flying levels. Here the Doomslayer takes to the sky to battle a fleet in hell. Dogfighting, dodging, and moving all about the sky will certainly feel like a departure from a standard Doom experience, but I did enjoy it a great deal. Again, I expect it to be divisive, but the controls were tight, the great arenas that you could fly around were awesome, and the dogfighting was fun in short bursts. Overall, I feel like the Atlan and Dragon were welcome experiences and a welcome addition to the campaign, and it served to boost the experience overall rather than hinder it. Something you may notice in the majority of my footage as well is that things get very hectic. Status symbols and colors begin to shine brightly, perhaps distractingly bright, and a bit disruptive to the field of view. I had learned to live with it early on and for a good amount of the game, but later on in my experience, it occurred to me. It has worked extremely hard with the Dark Ages to allow players to customize everything. Surely I could turn that off. I could, and I did. Now, when I play, the combat is far easier for me to digest, and I'm that much more lethal. I'm performing better. Again, most of the footage you're seeing is from my choice prior to that because I didn't want to spoil anything for you. But my point is, thanks to the many sliders, shaders, and adjustments that you can make at your leisure, there's no reason you won't be able to make and find adjustments that make the Dark Ages a joy for you to play differently than, say, the standard core experience. Accessibility options, difficulty sliders, they're extensive in the Dark Ages. The entire experience is truly customizable, and that has to be praised to the highest level. I loved getting to tweak my play and adjust the experience for me while not feeling like I was hurting the intended play style. Do you like the damage settings of Hurt Me Plenty, Doom's equivalent of normal, but want more aggressive enemies? Sure, toggle it. You want to slow down enemy projectiles to give yourself more time to react? Easy, it's there. You want to speed them up because you're crazy? Very doable. It seems to want you to enjoy Doom the Dark Ages in as many ways as possible, and they are intent on letting you do so. The optional challenges make their return from 2016 and Eternal, as do weapon masteries. A modest skill tree allows you to complete challenges and add upgrades, and this will let you vary your demon slaying as you please. None of these upgrades are required, but you are incentivized with extra gold to level up your guns as you go. The leveling up of those guns makes no sense, and it doesn't need to. You'll visit Sentinel shrines in the world with various currencies acquired and become more deadly. Doesn't make sense? Doesn't have to? Go be deadly. It's awesome. The Dark Ages looks beautiful in motion and at a standstill. Its sound design is incredible. The aesthetic paints a world of destruction, scale, and violence and technical feat. One of the best things about Doom the Dark Ages is that it's a focused experience. No valiantly made but ultimately unnecessary multiplayer. No level grinding or daily logins, just a meaty campaign and great gunplay. It's still Doom, but it's Doom devolved in the best way. I loved my time with Doom the Dark Ages. It's a fantastic addition to the Doom catalog and a must-play for first-person shooter fans. The production value is off the charts, the story is appropriately bombastic, and you will rip and tear to your heart's content. Doom the Dark Ages is absolutely recommended. Please check out our other Doom-related content, including interviews with the father of Doom, John Romero, classic Doom designer Zazer Acheron, or coverage of Nightdive Studios' Doom 1 and 2 Remaster. That's it for me. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Take care.